Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Andrew Snorm with Creative Community Solutions. And as you know, when we do our press and media work, we're fortunate to cover a wide range of topics from arts and entertainment, sports, nonprofits, government, and politics. And every once in a while, we get a chance to sit down and have a great chat with some of the people who are doing really powerful and positive things. And I'm so excited to bring back, and I always say young lady, is just to help keep me above ground, basically. But Ms. Crystal Perry, who's doing some great work with Melanated Pearl nonprofits. So, Ms. Perry, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful. Thank you for having me back again. Crystal Perry, Melanated Pearl Corporation. Our mission is to educate, uplift, and empower.
And I tell you what, it's good to have you back on. And before we get into some of the great work you're doing, could you give us a point of reference where you're originally from and where you're based out of currently?
So actually, I'm a Georgia girl. So like they say, I grew here. I didn't flew here. But I am based in Clayton County, originally from Columbus, Georgia, Muskogee County, but raised in the metro Atlanta area. And so now Melanated Pearl actually has its home in Hampton, Georgia, which is in a suburb of Clayton County, Georgia.
Okay. And before you kind of moved in the direction of Melanated Pearl, could you walk through with us just a couple of your moving parts, whether professional or community? What before you got here, what were some of the things that you feel led you to getting here?
So, well, I'm an educator in my bones. So, started out as an educator, teacher, Teach for America, actually, one of the Charter Corps members back in 2000, if people are familiar with that organization. And math is actually my specialty. So, and then honed in on that, spent several years as a math coach in Atlanta public schools, and then eventually became the assistant principal wanting to increase my impact. I then transitioned to a nonprofit, national nonprofit, and actually did some traveling where I was helping to build programs through the YMCA. And again, we built that program in 35 states across the US. And then round about 5 years ago, I decided I wanted to come home and really take all of my expertise and pour it into my community. So I had a conversation with my husband of 20 plus years and decided, really I wanted to start something, went back to school, and he blessed me with the opportunity to give me 5 years to actually pour into the community. So I went back to my alma mater, believe it or not, Agnes Scott College, and got my third degree in writing and digital communications because really I wanted to bridge my skills, be able to communicate with the next generation, but also knowing that we're in such a digital world. And this was before TikTok and Snapchat back in 2018, knowing that those were going to be the ways that we were going to expand and increase in communications. So I wanted to perfect my skills there. So always been an educator, constantly, as they say, always learning. Actually getting ready to go into a Cornell University program for women entered. What is it? Oh my goodness, what is the word? Entrepreneurship for women. Get a certification there. So yes, I'm a forever learner. But started in education, and so that's why that educate is a part of our mission, because it truly has been a path from poverty to progress for me in my personal life.
And I'm glad you walked through that. And it's where community engagement, whether, like you said, through the lens of education or what you're doing now, that's really an extension of who you are. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. It really
Yes.
it is an extension of who you are. And then the continuing education, we hear lifelong learner, but you're doing it. So now you're incorporating education, you are infusing it into the broader community. Walk through with us a few of the core audiences and core programs of Melanated Pearl.
So as I mentioned, Melanated Pearl is in Clayton County. And Clayton County right now, regardless of the history here, is presently 69% African American. And majority, over 54% of the homes are led by Black females. So our target very unapologetically is Black women in the Clayton County community, although we do service families outside of the metro Atlanta area. So when we're talking about programming, we really seek to be whatever it is that Black women and families need. Because as an educator, one of the things I've learned is, of course, we can pour into our children, but the number one factor that I found in whether or not children are happy, their homes are happy, and whether or not their mental state is really stable is what is happening with their mothers. And so we really try to focus our program on strengthening, educating, uplifting, empowering women who we know that will then empower their children. And so two of our programs, one came specifically out of COVID, is the Mother of Pearl, and Pearl stands for Passionate, Engaged, Activists Resisting Limits. So we know that when COVID hit, if you're in Clayton County, a lot of the service industry shut down. The Atlanta airport went, silent for 6 months. And Black women in Clayton County felt the direct impacts of that. People lost income. Clayton County schools, in for one, for that first year in 2020 went virtual. So parents who had children under the age of 10 could not work. And so there almost was a crisis on top of a crisis in my community. And so I wanted to be a solutions driver there. And so one of our programs, the Mother of Pearl, was kind of birthed out of the need to create something for eviction prevention, transitional housing, and rental assistance. And through me contracting and actually getting some small grants in that first year, we were able to put $51,000 in the community to help 36 families to secure homes, during this pandemic.
And
So
that
that's again some of the programming that you're actively seeing. And of course, it continues to grow as 2022 started. We had that great success, and we've actually been noted to get funding out, quicker than some of our governmental agencies. So we were blessed at the end of the year to actually get $60,000 from three foundations to continue the work. And so already in 2022, we've been able to put about $38,000 in the community to help 27 families. So current, always actively looking for funding and donations, but really having the conversations with those in the community about how can we help them be stable. Because of course, if they're moving, how does this impact kids? Transition. Kids are going to 3 or 4 different elementary schools. What does that mean for their learning? So again, if we can help families be stable, secure housing, then we know that we are, planting the seeds for our youth to actually have a better future.
And I tell you what, you covered so much ground in regards to there's always the education component, there
Yes.
is the empowerment component, the access to resources, understanding who the heads of households are and what are, we'll say, practical, accessible things that will provide that bump or provide
Yep.
that lift or provide that redirection to know where to go and things along those lines. And like you said before, stability and being able to sustain it and knowing how to sustain it. And those are just things in general, but definitely, like you said, for the audience that you serve. Um, in addition to what you've been able to jump on for the beginning of this year, we're winding down the month of February. Are there any events, programs that are taking place, especially during this first quarter of the year, to help build, upon the great work that's already taken place?
So yes, in addition to the Mother of Pearl, of course, and we do a lot of that through word of mouth, fundraising, grants. We've also launched what we call the Oyster Shell. And it is a collective community collaborative where we're bringing nonprofit leaders and small business leaders together to really sharpen and perfect their craft. This was actually born out of frustration because when I'm doing some of the grant writing and talking to donors, and as you get into the philanthropy world, the idea that Black female nonprofits don't have their paperwork together is something, a reality that hit me in the face because I know so many people on the ground doing the work, but they're not leveraging the resources, getting access to the, big dollars and funding so they can actually move the needle and the kind of change that they want. And so what I, trying to do with Melanated Pearl is to create a safe space. So one of the things that we're going to be having, and we've actually, this will be our third meeting this year, the second Wednesday of every month, we meet at Be Merry Events and Art Studio in downtown Jonesboro for what we call the Oyster Shell. We have professional development, and it's a 3-hour meeting where we're actively, perfecting our brand. We did pitch our purpose. We did fundraising, finances, and really bringing in experts from the banks. We're going to have some communications people. Vunny in the City is going to be presenting, where we're actually helping these nonprofit leaders and small businesses to get their brands out there, but also more importantly, to get funding ready so that they can be clear on their mission, their values, be very clear on the programs that they're going to be offering. And then ultimately, our goal is to create and produce what we would call a funding map, where there will be services that are, again, in Clayton County, Metro Atlanta area. Of course, we're targeting Clayton. That's where we're starting. But we would like to say, to a mother who might be having, trouble getting testing for their child. Here, you can go to Riverdale, and there's so many funds. If you experience domestic violence, then you can go to Lovejoy, and there's so many funds. If you're experiencing homelessness, I deal with so many people who have full-time jobs but are living in extended stays because they have evictions or credit issues. And it's like, we actually have 3 sites for free credit repair if you go to, Lake City. And so really honing in on not only helping those who are providing the service to elevate their brand, but truly being clear on where the resources are in Clayton County. So because when I get these calls, I spend so much time like trying to research, and this gives us an opportunity to vet each other, but truly be a resource for the community, because we can direct services and connect people quicker.
I tell you what, again, it just builds on, this is what the foundation is all about.
Yes.
And being, engaged, informed, proactive, making adjustments. We hear this term all the time: best practices, or even better practices, improving practices, and still being aligned with the larger mission and purpose to be able to do it just a little bit better each and every time you step out there. That's amazing. And again, it is so needed and so necessary. So here you are with these great moving parts, these great resources, and in talking with you previously, we know this is really an extension of who you are. It's very evident when we're talking. This is an extension of who you are, and we do this type of work because this is who we are. But every once in a while, let me make sure I got my light on. Every once in a while, you get a little bit of shine. Talk to us about the upcoming Commendation Acknowledgement that's coming up. I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be starting next week, the business week of February 28th.
Correct. And so we have been honored with a silver medal from the Anthem Awards for Humanitarian Services Leader of the Year. And it is won an international and a national recognition. This is the inaugural year, backed by Pharrell and some other celebrities, but they really have done the job of going out internationally, nationally, to find those of us in these little small areas of the United States, and again internationally, who are really doing the work and trying to elevate us and lift us up. So we are truly honored to be identified as Humanitarian Leader of the Year, because what I really hope for anything else is to be a model for others. I feel like, as you said, this is an extension of who I am. I've always been an educator, but this seed for serving the community has always been there. And for whatever reason, I waited 20 years to actually pull the trigger. So hopefully, young people who are see and have that fire, that spark burning, they don't have to wait that long to actually go out and start serving in their community. We often hear people saying, you can be the change, but that actively being, means waking up and making the choices to actively change at your community, to be the positive light. And that's something I try to do, daily. And when we're communicating with people, to see the human that is there, to actually practice compassion, to listen without waiting to speak. So, often now, especially in the pandemic, we've gotten used to grief. It's like tragedy. We don't even take the moment to celebrate the lives that are, lost around us because it's happening so rapidly. But those of us, those people who see me and hopefully see the work, feel that pause and are empowered to reflect, and even in their small, corner of the world, do something. Again, and I always say, and I think Martin Luther King used to say, we can't all do everything, but we each do our small thing well. I know I'm used to saying, if you make the sandwiches, then make the sandwiches. If you are the sandwich maker, because we're hungry and we're actively working, so there is no small job. There are no small people. Everyone has a contribution. And again, I can guarantee you, if you think back to the civil rights movement and people who were pounding the pavement, those women in the kitchen who were making those chicken sandwiches, they were the most vital because they were the fuel that kept that engine going. And so if you bring that to 2022, we have our young people. They want something different. They are eager to be changed. And those of us who are, I want to call myself an elder, but I'm in my 40s, but definitely we want to create a pathway where their voices can be heard, but that they can create a change that we can't even imagine yet. Like right now, my mother always tells me that I am living a life as a female. My mother is 66, that when she was in her 30s, the idea of a woman like me didn't exist. Mm-hmm. And so what does that mean for my grandchildren, my great grandchildren, if we continue to lay this foundation for women to be powerful? And then the other thing is, I think we're in a very unique place in the United States, in U.S. history. Again, it's being written now, herstory, that this is the first time where our government, our donors, our philanthropy are actually focusing in on Black women and their contributions. We now have the data that says Black women have been the closest to societal problems, but they've gotten the least amount of funding. You even have places like Goldman Sachs who are now putting aside large millions of dollars specifically now to fund and fuel Black nonprofits, female organizations. You see a lot of banks now who traditionally did a lot of things in corporate and for-profit are now changing that and really increasing of course, they always had that morality funding, but they're increasing it, and they're being more specific to label it Black female leader. And so if never, ever before, I want to encourage Black women who are small business leaders, who are nonprofit leaders, that this is our time and our turn. And if you actually stay true to your purpose, listen to that voice as the Most High and allow it to lead you, then the success will come, because I feel like the funding dollars are finally about to be open to us.
I like what you just said. This is our time and our turn, because like you said before, the demographic, which is Black women, has traditionally had to wait.
Yes.
And we're just going to say politely, waiting's over.
The wait is over. The wait is over.
I tell you what, Ms. Perry, each and every time we get a chance to do this, it's learning something new. It's revisiting living history and just the overall traits of building up that knowledge base, the professionalism, the passion, and the purpose. Those are always things that each and every time that's I can check the box. All right, I know it's going to be A, B, C, D. I just know, like you just automatically know. And I, for one, appreciate, like I said, the time you take, not just here, but the time you are taking to continue to invest in the lives of our communities. As we get ready to wind down, would you please let us know the best ways to stay connected, informed, engaged, and supportive of the work of you and your team, through the lens of Melanated Pearl?
So, of course, social media. IG is probably our best calendar of events. I try to keep that the most updated, and it's Melanated Pearl Corp at Melanated Pearl Corp. Also, our website is going to give you all of the details that you would need, any historical information, also any events that are going to be coming up, and that is going to be www.melanatedpearl.org. And again, because we have such a unique name, I like to tell people go to Google and type in Melanated Pearl, and we should come to the top, and you can see our reviews, a lot of pictures of things that we've done, because in addition to the mother of pearl and the Oyster Shell, we are always actively out supporting community events. Again, that empower piece, when we see people, women, children, men, anyone doing great things in the community, we want to highlight that. And so that's another thing. If there's something that you're doing to uplift your community, definitely reach out, because those are the partnerships that we want to, let people know. There might be an idea that's in Gwinnett that we need down in Clayton, and vice versa. So the idea of sharing the knowledge, the idea of a collaborative collective. Because the other thing is that if we come together, one purpose with some common shared goals, regardless of who they are, they won't tell us no. And we got to go back and understand that we as a collective people are the power. We are the fuel. Black women, we are the liquid funding in the United States, as I always tell people. So thinking about, we always like to say, where the bag at? Young people, I like to tell them, get your finger and point it at yourself. You are the bag, because all of our innovations, all of our ideas, everything that's the future is literally laying in our young people, and we have to ignite it. We have to, fan that flame, and then we have to get out of the way. You heard me right, people. We got to get out of the way so that our young people can truly create a path, because it's going to be something that we have not of this world or even understanding. And I say that because we talked about our time and our turn. But even after 4 years, one of the greatest obstacles that I have as a nonprofit leader is convincing Black women that they are deserving. So we talk about the history of a group of people being oppressed for so long. The idea of equality, the idea of equity, the idea of being truly respected as an equal brings fear, because for so long we've been told no, that we don't deserve it. And now imagine the women who I meet, who all this power is laid dormant, and the greatest battle I have to fight is to convince them that they indeed are worth it. So again, as I go back and talk about the melanated pearl, those of us who are melanated, we have a particular story, a particular path that has been created in these United States. And you are a pearl. You are passionate, you're engaged, you're an activist. I tell women, when you wake up in the morning, that is an act of activism. And every day they tell us no, we say yes. And that's where that resisting limits comes in. So again, follow us on social media, look us up on Google, share your great stories. But if nothing else, know that everything that you need, all the resources are available to you. All you need to do is pick up your passion and go.
Well, I'll tell you what, on that note, and I know a lot of people I speak with, it's speaking about passion, but I love what you just said to close out. Pick up your passion and go. Ms. Perry, it is always a pleasure to sit down and talk with and share and exchange and help stay motivated and help stay empowered and encouraged. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is the first time that you have even heard of Melanated Pearl, please don't let it be the last. You'll definitely see the recap on acenortonccs.com/blog. So you'll see the written article. We will have this available on our YouTube for Creative Community Solutions. So make sure to watch, share, check it out. And again, we are so thankful and grateful. So until next time, to everybody, take very good care, continued well wishes, and we'll look forward to seeing you real soon.